Hello, welcome to a Friday night Mamemeister 10-minute mashup. Tonight's game is Missile Command by the wonderful Interceptor Software, made back in 1983. Anybody that owned a Commodore 64 back in the day will be well aware of Interceptor Software. They were particularly shite. There was very few games that I can actually think of that were actually semi-decent. Most of their games were rip-offs of existing games. In the case of this one, they didn't even have the nerve to change the name. Usually you misspell a name or something. But this one's called Missile Command, obviously based on an arcade machine. I don't know whether Interceptor made games for other computers. Did they make games for the Spectrum? Not too sure. But yeah, they were basically the staple diet of most 64 owners in the early days. Back then, you could basically release any tat and people would buy it because that was all there was. You either had type-in listings, you wrote your own games, or else you bought games that were available, and this was pretty much the standard that we had to pick from back then. Interceptor says they were pretty infamous for releasing pretty poor games. The other company being Imagine Software, so I'm actually probably going to be doing a few mashups based on their games because some of them are hilariously bad. So anyway, yeah, this is Missile Command. How do we start? What does that say? Press F7 to start. F7. Press F1, blah blah blah. F7. There's a complete lack of music. And what's rather worrying, it seemed to take an age to load, and I'm actually beginning to wonder, was the game written in BASIC? There we go. I was actually very lucky to play this, the arcade version of this, down at Play Expo. Now, I am actually thinking this is written in BASIC, for two reasons. One, it took an age to load. And secondly, the time it's actually taken, it's also rendering the screen. If this was a machine code, it'd be instant, and you'll notice when a bomb hits, the game pauses. Bump. You see that? The actual graphics pause. Yeah, I was playing this down at Play Expo. It's actually a really nice game. Now I have a rather interesting anecdote about Missile Command. A good mate of mine's, Tony Temple, is actually the world record holder of this game. And I was lucky enough to be standing beside Tony when he was actually playing that. He was going for the world record. He didn't get it last year, unfortunately, but to see these guys like Tony and play these games, it's just quite awe-inspiring. I can get to about, I don't know, 3 or 4 screens and it just gets stupidly difficult. But yeah, it's worthwhile watching YouTube to actually watch these guys perform. It's awesome. But yeah, Tony, there was a chap, I don't know if anybody follows high scores in Twin Galaxies. There was a chap, Roy Schilt, who owned, or he didn't own it, I should say, he held the world record for Missile Command. I think he set it in, was it 1986 or something? And Tony beat the record about 2 years ago. And Roy Schilt, again, Google him, he's one of these larger than life characters in America. He had this persona as a sort of bodybuilder. I think he was a porn star at one point. But yeah, he was a world champion, and when Tony broke his world record, Roy was making all kinds of threats to Tony. It was quite bizarre. Apparently, Twin Galaxies, who actually or who used to sort of manage the high scores of arcade games, I think they actually banned Roy from taking any further part. But yeah, you should Google him. He did actually supposedly write his own book. It was something like the Roy Schilt Guide of How to Pull Women. Quite amusing. So Google it and you'll find that. But yeah, I think this is most definitely written in BASIC. one thing that differs with this and the arcade game, apart from this is shite, is the arcade game you actually have 3 bases. You have one at the right, left, one at the right and one in the middle, and you have 3 buttons so you can obviously fire the missile depending on where it's, you know, what base is nearest. In the case of this one, you've only got the one in the centre. Now, the funny thing about this game, if this was written in machine code, it wouldn't be half bad. But it's just so slow. I mean, actually the game itself plays not too bad, apart from it pauses, which is always a bit naff. But you know, I'm 100% convinced this is written in BASIC. It just goes to show you that you know, back then you could write any sort of shit and people would buy it. But there appears to be 2 sound effects. First time I've played it, I'm already on sheet 8, so. What's interesting, I don't know whether, I don't recall ever actually playing a proper version of this in the Commodore 64. I think there was quite a few different versions for the Spectrum. But I don't recall this ever coming out like from Atari. The problem with a game like this is it really does need not a joystick, a trackball or even a mouse to control properly. Playing it with joysticks. Hey, bonus city. I don't know why there's a pause all the time, as it's obviously trying to render graphics or something. But yeah, Interceptor Software came out with some horrific games. I mean, there was a game, Jeff Minter, who you're probably familiar with. He was one of the forefront writers and the programmers on the Commodore 64. He wrote some classic games, and you know, it's great to see Jeff still write games for iOS now. He's doing really well. And you've probably, I don't know if you've watched my TXK video. If you've got a PS Vita, then buy TXK, it's absolutely amazing. But yeah, Jeff Minter, he wrote a lot of great games on the Commodore 64. And Interceptor Software sadly ripped off a lot of Jeff's games, you know, making absolutely no attempt to kind of hide the fact that they were rip-offs of his games. But you know, that's what it was back in the day. Oh, this is going to be game over because both my cities are going to be destroyed. Bonus. Now, anybody that's played the arcade game, you'll know that that's what it looks like when it ends, except rather than a square, it's a kind of circle thing. Nope, that's obviously the Fallout. Sid Snot, yep, okay. Llama Pie, right, Hedgehog. Right, time for one more game, I think. F7, let's go. F7. Oh, here we go. Yeah, complete lack of sound, well, not a complete lack of sound. You've got the firing sound effect, and you've got the whoa! Dearie me. I love how everyone pauses. There's actually more sound effects in the bonus screen than there is in the actual game. But yeah, I'm intending to have a look at some other Interceptor games because they were definitely worth looking at. I'll let you actually check out to see if they made games for other machines. I say they possibly did, but obviously being a 64 man, it was only the Commodore 64 that was actually really took any notice of. You've certainly got to have plenty of patience playing this game. Let's see if I can get a clear screen. Again, what differs between this game and the arcade is the arcade, when you get one of the missiles coming down, it kind of peels off. You get kind of multiple missiles peeling off, but this one just seems to be straight lines. And listen guys, I've just noticed the time, that's actually over 10 minutes. So we're going to call it a day. So this is a Missile Command by Interceptor Software on the Commodore 64. Thanks for watching.